Hello second grade friends and welcome to Number Corner. For Number Corner today, we are going to be playing the rows and columns game. But it's going to look a little bit different for us when we play this month. Instead of playing on Seesaw, we're going to be playing in our student books, our Number Corner student books. So before we get started, you can pause the video to get your student book. Remember, it should say Number Corner on the top, and it's blue and white on the bottom. You'll need a pencil, and it'll be opened up to page 32. You can pause the video now to get what you need. Now that we're back together, let's have a look at our record sheet. Now I want you to look at your sheet. You should be on page 32. It should look just like this. What do you notice about this sheet? Take a few moments just to look at it. Now you may have noticed a few different things. Show a connection if you noticed that it looks like we're going to play 1, 2, 3 different rounds. Show me a connection if you see that. Good work. Show me a connection if you see these little stars down at the bottom of each of these bigger squares. Yeah, show a connection if you notice that too. Those are going to help us in our game. They're going to tell us where to start. Now show a connection if you notice how many little squares are in our bigger square. Did anybody notice that, how many there are? Let's count them together. I want you to think of a way you can count all of these squares without counting by ones. Now, one way you may have seen this is if you kind of looked at these black lines and you saw that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares up until that line. You may have counted by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Well, there's 5 more here, so that makes 30. And I know there's 5 in this column, so that's 35. Then I have my extra for 36. That's one way you could have done it. Or you could have counted by 6, 6, another 6 is 12. Well, 12 doubled is 24, plus another 6 is 30, and 6 more is 36. There are lots of ways we could have counted. If you notice anything else, give yourself a little pat on the back. There's lots to notice on this sheet. We're going to go ahead and move on to playing our rows and columns game so we can try to get all 3 rounds in. And when we play this game, we're going to be playing students versus the teacher. So let me show you what I have set up for us for our game. Let me switch my camera. Now here's how we are going to play. When I'm rolling as the teacher, I'm going to record my score. When I'm rolling for you as the student, you're going to record your score with me. So I'll be playing on this red teacher sheet, and you'll be playing on this purple student sheet. You'll only record your scores. This game is a lot like the rows and columns game we played last month, except this time we're going to color in the grids to show our arrays instead of building them with those tiles that we used on Seesaw. So each team, so the class, you and myself, will take a turn to roll the dice twice to find out how many rows and columns that we get to color in our grid. This is a grid where we were counting all those squares. When each team has had 3 turns and colored in all the grids on the sheet, we'll add the number of squares in each of our arrays to get the final score. The team with the higher score is the winner. Wow, that was a lot of information. Let's look at an example first to see how we play. Now I'm going to show you an example by showing you my first turn. So I need a dice. Here's my dice. When I roll it, just like last month when we played, it's going to show me how many rows I'm going to need. So I know that I'm going to need 5 rows. So I'm going to put my 5 right here for the 5 rows I'll need. And I'm going to use my marker, and you're just watching, remember, because it's my turn. I'm going to mark that I'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. I kind of mark along the left here. Now I need to roll again, because now I need to roll for my columns. I have 5 columns, so I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns for at the top right here. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that I've kind of framed in my array, do you think we can tell how big the array will be or what it will look like? Yeah, we can kind of tell because we have a lot of it framed out, and we have these lines here that kind of show us how big it will be. Now I'm going to color this in pretty quickly here so we can keep playing. Remember, these aren't beautiful sketches like we do in art class. These are just kind of quick fill-in sketches. Now that I'm all filled in, I need to think of some equations I could write. And I need to write an equation for for all of my rows. Oh, I forgot to write my 5 over here. Now, if I'm starting at the bottom by my star, I'm going to count how many are in my first row. Well, I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 squares in my first row. That means my second row must also have 5 squares. If it didn't, it wouldn't be an array. My third row must have 5. My fourth row also must have 5. And my fifth row also must have 5. Now to add these all up, I can count by 5s. Count by 5s with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. We have 25 squares in this array. Now I need to show an equation for my columns too. When I'm looking at an array like this, I can see that I have 5 squares in my first column, just like in my rows. And I have 5 in my second column, and 5 in my third column, 5 in my fourth column. Remember, they have to be the same or it's not an array. And 5 in my fifth column. My equations are the same. They both equal 25. I have 25 squares in my array. Now it's your turn. You will be writing down what we record here. So have your student books and your pencils ready. Let's roll. You have rolled a 2 for your first row. Fill in 2 right up here where it says roll 1. We'll have 2 rows. I'll move that over. And then we're going to mark from our star that we have 1, 2 rows. Now we're going to roll for you. We're going to roll your columns. How many columns do I have? 4. I'll have 4 columns. Help me mark that. Mark that with me. So I need to go on the top, and you're using your pencil just to mark 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Now let's go ahead and fill that in. Can we already tell what it's going to look like? Yeah, give me a thumbs up. We can. We can tell because we have marked it out with our little frame. So now we're going to fill in our frame. We want to fill it in kind of quickly, but all the way to the edges. Let's write down our equations. Okie dokie. How many squares are in my first row? Remember, a row goes across. How many squares are in my first row? 4. Write this down for our equation. How many squares are in my second row? 4. It has to be the same. If it's not the same, it's not an array. Now 4 plus 4 is a double. What is it all together? 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. Now let's look at our columns. Our first column has how many squares? Starting at our star. 1, 2. 2. How many in our second? 2. It must be the same or it's not an array. Our third column, 2. And our fourth column also has 2. Now we can count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. We have 8 squares in this array. All right, second grade friends, this is what you should have written down so far. I really wanted to finish this game with you today, but it looks like we're about out of time. That's okay, because we're going to pick up where we left off next time we play. We have a few more chances to play and finish this game. So take a picture of what you have now to show your teacher that you're learning how to play this game. Next time we'll start right here on round 2 and we'll see who the winner of this rows and columns game is. I'm excited to finish this with you. I will see you next time for Number Corner. Great work today.